I'll read it. See, limp, the body of Gorister hung from the pink pallet, unsupported, hanging high above us in the computer chamber, and it did not shiver in the chill, oily breeze that blew eternally through the main cavern. The body hung head down, attached to the underside of the pallet by the sole of its right foot. It had been drained of blood through a precise incision made from ear to ear under the lantern jaw. There was no blood on the reflective surface of the metal floor. Mita is Red's therapist? Redception? What? What the fuck are you saying over here, thy employer? I like how you're both here and in the chat, Red.
Yep.
Okay. Why is there so many things named Red? Please, stop. Okay. When Gorister joined our group and looked up at himself, it was already too late for us to realize that, once again, Am had duped us. Had its fun. It had been a diversion on the part of the machine. 3 of us had vomited, turning away from one another in a reflex as ancient as the nausea that had produced it. Gorister went white. It was almost as though he had seen a voodoo icon and was afraid of the future. Oh god, he mumbled and walked away. The 3 of us followed him after a time and found him sitting with his back to one of the smaller, chittering banks, his head in his hands. Ellen knelt down beside him and stroked his hair. He didn't move, but his voice came over his covered face quite clearly. Why doesn't it just do us in and get us over with? Christ, I don't know how much longer I can go on like this. It was our 109th year in the computer. He was speaking for all of us. Nimdoc, which was the name the computer had forced him to use, because Am amused itself with strange sounds, was hallucinating that there were canned goods in the ice caverns. Gorister and I were very dubious. It's another shuck, I told them. Like the goddamn frozen elephant Am sold us. Benny almost went out of his mind over that one. We'll hike that way and it'll be putrefied or some damn thing. I say forget it. Stay here. It'll have to come up with something pretty soon or we'll die. Benny shrugged. 3 days it had been since we'd last eaten. Worms. Thick, ropey. Nimdog had no more certain. He knew that there was the chance, but he was getting thin. Couldn't be any worse there than here. Colder, but that didn't matter much. Hot, cold, hail, lava, boils, or locusts. It never mattered. The machine masturbated, and we had to take it or die. I don't remember it saying this. Anyway, Ellen decided us. What? I just saw what you said. Ellen decided us. Now that shit threw me off. The computer masturbating fucking threw me off. Ellen decided us. I've got to have something, Ted. Maybe there'll be something Bartlett pears or peaches. Please, Ted, let's try it. I gave in easily. What the hell? Mattered not at all. Ellen was grateful, though. She took me twice out of turn. Even that had ceased to matter. And she never came, so why bother? But the machine giggled every time we did it. Loud up there, back there, all around us. He snickered. It snickered. Most of the time I thought of Am as it, without a soul. But rest of the time I thought of it as him, in the masculine, the paternal, the patriarchal. For he is jealous of people. Him, it, God as this, the deranged. We left on Thursday, and the machine always kept us up to date on the date. The passage of time was important. Not to us, sure as hell, but to him. It, Am, Thursday. Thanks. What is this? Computer is having fun torturing peeps. Yeah, he just fucking loves it. How is it? My fucking Alexa is called computer, and did you guys hear her say shit? Did you hear her? No one's fucking talking to you.
Discord.
Okay, good. I'm like, no one's even talking to you. Connect sound, disconnect sound. Oh, that's terrible. I was like, it's theoretically masturbating. He's not actually masturbating. Come on. Nimdoc and Gorister carried Ellen for a while, their hands locked to their own and each other's wrists, a seat. Benny and I walked before and after just to make sure if anything happened, it would catch one of us and at least Ellen would be safe. Fat chance, safe, didn't matter. Am I getting beaten up by these motherfucking things here in the background? It was only 100 miles or so to the ice caverns. On the second day, when we were lying out under the blistering sun thing he had materialized, he sent down some manna? Tasted like boiled boar urine. We ate it. On the third day, we passed through a valley of obsolescence. Filled with rusting carcasses of ancient computer banks. Am had been as ruthless with its own life as with ours. It was a mark of his personality. It strove for perfection, whether it was a matter of killing off unproductive elements in his own world-filling bulk, or perfecting methods for torturing us. Am was as thorough as those who had invented him, now long since gone to dust. Could ever have hoped. There was a light flickering down from above, and we realized we must be very near to the surface, but we didn't try to crawl up to see. There was virtually nothing out there. Had been nothing that had been considered for anything for over 100 years. Only the blasted skin of what been the home of billions. Now there were only 5 of us down here inside, alone with Am. I heard Ellen saying frantically, "No, Benny, don't. Come on, Benny, don't, please." And then I realized I'd been hearing Benny murmuring under his breath for several minutes. He was saying, "I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna get out," over and over. His monkey-like face was crumpled up in an expression of, what is it? Beatific delight and sadness, all at the same time. The radiation scars Am had given him during the festival were drawn down into a mass of pink-white puckerings, and his features seemed to work independently of one another. Perhaps Benny was the luckiest of the 5 of us. He had gone starring mad many years before. Even though we would call Am any damn thing we liked, could think the foulest thoughts of any fused memory banks and corroded baseplates, of burnt-out circuits and shattered control bubbles, the machine would not tolerate our trying to escape. Benny leaped away from me as I made a grab for him. He stumbled up the face of a smaller memory cube, tilted on its side and filled with rotten components. He squatted there for a moment, looking like a chimpanzee Am had intended him to resemble. Then he leaped high, caught like a trailing beam of pitted and corroded metal, and went up it. What? Oh yeah. Handed over hand like an animal, till he was girdered 20 feet above us. "Oh, Ted, Nimdog, please help him, get him down," before she cuts off. Tears began to stand in her eyes. She moved her hands aimlessly. It was too late. None of us wanted to be near him when whatever was going to happen, happened. And besides, we all saw through her concern. What? When Am had altered Benny during the machine's utterly irrational, hysterical phase, it was not merely Benny's face the computer had made like a giant ape's. He was big in the privates. She loved that. She serviced us, as a matter of course, but she loved it from him. Oh, Ellen. Pedestal Ellen. Pristine, pure Ellen. Oh, Ellen the clean. Scum, filth. Gorister slapped her, went slumped down staring up at poor, loony Benny. And she cried. It was her big defense. Crying. We had gotten used to it. 75 years earlier, Gorister kicked her in the side. Then the sound began. It was light, that sound. Half sound and half light. Something that began to glow from Benny's eyes and pulse with growing loudness. Dim sonorities? What? Sonorities? I don't know what that one is. That grew more gigantic and brighter as the light sound increased in tempo. It must have been painful, and the pain had been increasing with the boldness of the light. The rising volume of the sound for Benny began to mewl like a wounded animal, but first softly when the light was dim and the sound was muted. Then louder as his shoulders hunched together. His back humped as though he was trying to get away from it. His hands folded across his chest like a chipmunk's. His head tilted to the side, the sad little monkey face pinched in anguish. Then he began to howl as the sound coming from his eyes grew louder. Louder and louder, I slapped the sides of my head with my hands, and I couldn't shut it off. It cut through easily, and the pain shivered through my flesh like tinfoil on a tooth. Alright, I need to take a little drink here. So what do we think of the story so far?
I have no idea what's happening.
So what's happening is, I mentioned it earlier, but this computer wiped out humanity, like when they said that there used to be billions. That's not about humanity. There used to be humanity. He wiped it all out. Now there's only 5 of them. And he has them like in a underground like computer chamber. So he's had them there for over 100 years. I think he said 109 years. So he did something to them that made them immortal. I don't know how he can do this, but he's just supposed to be that advanced of a computer that he's able to just fucking do this, I guess. And yeah, that's basically what's happening. And they mention how they like live there. Earlier they were saying like one of them was hallucinating about there being food, and they were like, "Oh, let's go get the food." And yeah, so they just live in this chamber, in these like underground chambers that is the computers in. So you can actually see them in the game, the point and click game. There's also a comic. Yeah, just for the computer's entertainment. Yeah, exactly. You see, the only reason why these 5 are alive is literally just for the entertainment of the computer. And he's had them for... Huh?
I'm interested in the game now.
The game is a point and click, and I heard it's not fun to play because it's kind of weird, but you can actually hear the computer's voice. He's voiced by the author, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'll play it eventually. But yeah, we'll get there. But anyway, let's see. Let's keep going. And Benny was suddenly pulled erect. On the girder he stood, jerked to his feet like a puppet. The light was now pulsating out of his eyes in two great round beams. The sound crawled up and in some incomprehensible scale, and then he fell forward, straight down, and hit the plate steel floor with a crash. He lay there, jerking spastically as the light flowed around and around as the sound spiraled up normal range. It's going through Hell Personality Adventure, sort of. Yeah, I think you play as each separate like main character here. Like you can go through like Ellen and all that. Like I think she has a fear of the color yellow because of something that happened in her life, and I think he puts her like in a yellow cage, which is like, you know, fucked. So it's stuff like that. See, then the light beat its way inside his head. The sound spiraled down and he was left lying there, crying piteously. His eyes were two soft, moist pools of pus-like jelly. Am had blinded him. Gorrister and Nimdok and myself, we turned away, but not before we caught the look of relief on Elam's worn, concerned face. Sea green lights suffused the cavern when we made camp. Am provided punk and we burned it. Punk? Cyril huddled around the wan and pathetic fire, telling stories to keep Benny from crying in his permanent night. Permanent night, damn. What does Am mean? Gorrister answered him. We had done this sequence 1,000 times before, but it was Benny's favorite story. At first it meant Allied Master Computer, and then it meant Adaptive Manipulator, and then later it developed sentience and linked itself up and they called it an aggressive menace. But by then it was too late, and finally it called itself Am, emerging intelligence, and what it meant was, I am cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Benny drooled a little and snickered. There was the Chinese Am, and the Russian Am, and the Yankee Am, and he stopped. Benny was beating on the floor plates, Jesus, with a large hard fist. He was not happy. Gorrister had not started at the beginning. Gorrister began again. The Cold War started and became World War III and just kept going. It became a big war, a very complex war, so then they needed the computers to handle it. They sank the first shafts and began building Am. There was the Chinese Am and the Russian Am and the Yankee Am, and everything was fine until they had honeycombed the entire planet, adding on to this element adding on this element and that element. But one day, Am woke up and knew who he was, and he linked himself, and he began feeding all of the killing data until everyone was dead, except for the 5 of us, and Am brought us down here. Benny was smiling sadly. He was also drooling again. Ellen wiped the spittle from the corner of his mouth with the hem of her skirt. Gorrister always tried to tell it a little more sucks. What the fuck is this word? Succinently? Whatever. Each time, but beyond the bare facts, there was nothing to say. None of us knew why Am had saved 5 people, or why our specific 5, or why he had spent all this time tormenting us, or even why he had made us virtually immortal. In the darkness, one of the computer banks began humming. The tone was picked up half a mile way down the cavern by another bank. Then, one by one, each of the elements began to tune itself, and there was a faint chittering as thought raced through the machine. The sound grew, and the light ran across the faces of the console like heat lightning. The sound spiraled up until it sounded like a million metallic insects, angry, menacing. What is it? Ellen cried. There was a terror in her voice. She hadn't become accustomed to it, even now. It's going to be bad this time, Nimdok said. He's going to speak, Gorrister said. I know it. Let's get the hell out of here, I said, suddenly getting to my feet. No, Ted, sit down. What if he's got pits out there, or something else we can't see? It's too dark, Gorrister said with resignation. Google says if it's spelled right, it's succinctly? How do you say that, Red? You're right here. Come on.
Succinctly.
Huh?
Succinctly? I'm not sure if I'm saying it right myself.
Suckly. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway.
Apparently it means brief and clear expressed manner.
Huh. Interesting. Anyway. So let's see. Then we heard, I don't know, something moving toward us in the darkness. Huge, shambling, hairy, moist. It came toward us. We couldn't even see it, but there was a ponderous impression of bulk heaving itself toward us. Great weight was coming at us out of the darkness. It was more of a sense of pressure, of air forcing itself into a limited space, expanding the invisible walls of a sphere. Benny began to whimper. Nimdok's lower lip trembled, and he bit it hard, trying to stop it. Ellen slid across the metal floor to Gorrister and huddled into him. There was the smell of matted wet fur in the cavern. There was the smell of charred wood. There was the smell of dusty velvet. There was the smell of rotting orchids, and there was the smell of sour milk. There was the smell of sulfur, of rancid butter, of oil slick, of grease, of chalk dust, of human scalps. Am was keying us. He was tickling us. There was the smell of... I heard myself shriek, and the hinges of my jaw ached. I scuttled across the floor, across the cold metal with its endless lines of rivets, on my hands and knees, the smell gagging me, filling my head with the thunderous pain that set me away in a horror. I fled like a cockroach across the floor and out into the darkness at something moving inexorably? Man, this guy and his words. The others were still back there, gathered around the firelight, laughing, their hysterical choir of insane giggles rising up into the darkness, like thick, many-colored wood smoke. I went away quickly and hid. How many hours had been, how many days, or even years, they never told me. Ellen chided me for sulking, and Nimdok tried to persuade me he had only been a nervous reflex on their part, the laughing. I knew it wasn't a relief of a soldier feels when a bullet hits the man next to him. I knew it wasn't a reflex. They hated me. They were surely against me, and Am could even sense this hatred, and made it worse for me because of the depth of their hatred. We had been kept alive, rejuvenated, made to remain constantly at the age we had been when Am had brought us below, and they hated me because I was the youngest, and the one that Am had affected the least. I knew, God how I knew, the bastards, and that dirty bitch Ellen. Benny had been a brilliant theorist of a college professor. Now he was little more than a semi-human, semi-simian. He had been handsome. The machine had ruined that. He had been lucid. The machine had driven him mad. He had been gay. The machine had given him an organ fit for a horse. Am had done a job on Benny. Gorster had been a warrior. What? Warrior? He was a Connie, a conscientious objector. He was a peace marcher. He was a planner, a doer, a look-aheader. Am had turned him into a shoulder-shrugger. Had made him a little dead in his concern. Am had robbed him. Nimdok went off in the darkness by himself for long times. I don't know what it is he did out there. Am never let us know, but whatever it was, Nimdok always came back white, drained of blood, shaking. Am had hit him hard in a special way, even if we didn't know quite how. And Ellen, that douchebag, Ellen had left her alone, had made her more of a slut than she had ever been. All of her talk of sweetness and light, all of her memories of true love, all of the lies she wanted us to believe. She had been a virgin only twice removed before Am grabbed her and brought her down here with us. No, Am had given her pleasure even if she said it wasn't nice to do. Sorry, what am I missing here? What a plot twist. We thought we were gonna see Red struggle, but Nelly's getting put on a spot by some squiggles on the screen. Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are these words? When was this written? I forgot when this was written, but this is a really old story. As you can see, since it references the Cold War and stuff. I think that's kind of when it was written. Anyway. Let's see. I was the one still sane and whole. Really, Am had not tampered with my mind. Not at all. I had only had to suffer what he visited down on us. All of the delusions, all of the nightmares, the torments. But those scum, all four of them, they were lined and arrayed against me. If I hadn't had to stand them all off all the time, be on my guard against them all the time, I might have found it easier to combat Am. At which point it passed, and I began crying. Oh, Jesus, sweet Jesus, if there was ever a Jesus and if there was a God, please, please, please let us out of here or kill us. Because at that moment, I think I realized completely, so that I was able to verbalize it, Am was intent on keeping us in his belly forever, twisting and torturing us forever. The machine hated us as no sentient creature had ever hated before, and we were helpless. It had become hideously clear. Excuse me? If there was a sweet Jesus and if there was a God, the God was Am. The hurricane hit us with the force of a glacier thundering into the sea. It was a palpable presence. Winds that tore at us, flinging us back the way we had come. Down the twisting, computer-lined corridors of the dark way, Ellen screamed as she was lifted and hurled face forward into a screaming shoal of machines. Their individual voices, strident as bats in flight, she could not even fall. The howling winds kept her aloft. Buffeted her? I don't know. Say buffeted her. Bounced her, tossed her back and down and away from us, out of sight suddenly as she was swirled around the bend in a dark way. Her face had been bloody, her eyes closed. None of us could get to her. We clung tenaciously to whatever outcropping we had reached. Benny wedged in between two great crackle-finished cabinets. Nimdok, with fingers clawed, formed over a railing, circling a catwalk 40 feet above us. Gorster plastered upside down against a wall niche formed by two great machines with glass-faced dials that swung back and forth between red and yellow lines whose meanings we could not even fathom. Sliding across the deck plates, the tips of my fingers had been ripped away. I was trembling, shuddering, rocking as the wind beat at me, whipped at me, screamed down out of nowhere at me, and pulled me free from one silver-thin opening in the plates to the next. My mind was roiling, tinkling, chittering, softness of brain parts that expanded and contracted in quivering frenzy. The wind was the scream of a great mad bird as it flapped its immense wings. Then we were all lifted and hurled away from there, down back the way we had come around a bend into a darkness we had never explored, over terrain that was ruined and filled with broken glass and rotting cables and rusted metal and far away further than any of us had ever been. That means I need to drink some soda here.
Exactly what I need.
Oh, a hydrate! Oh, thank you, Kasai. I will drink both, actually. I'll drink some of my Coke Zero. And I will reach for some of my water over here. And give me a moment. Thank you very much. Also, is it a good size? I just realized it's a good size, right? On the stream there. Thank you, Kasai. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What, the page?
I'm not reading it too fast, right? You're
still reading it fine.
Alright, just making sure.
That's good.
Alright, just clearing my throat. Alright. Trailing along miles behind Ellen, I could see her every now and then, crashing into metal walls and surging on, with all of us screaming in the freezing, thunderous hurricane wind that would never end, and then suddenly it stopped and we fell. It sounds fine. You can try different paces and tones if you want to experiment with it. Yeah, I was thinking about reading, but also, this is a lot, so I am getting a little out of breath just from reading this. So I can see you got, like, fucking tired, Brett, because holy shit. I'm struggling a little bit. Alright, let's see. It stopped and we fell. We had been in flight for an endless time. I thought it had been weeks. We fell and hit, and I went through red and gray and black and heard myself moaning. Not dead. Am went into my mind. He walked smoothly here and there and looked with interest at all the pockmarks he had created in 109 years. He looked at the cross-routed and reconnected synapses and all the tissue damage his gift of immortality had included. He smiled softly at the pit that dropped onto the center of my brain and the faint, moth-soft murmurings of the things far down there that gibbered without meaning, without pause. Am said very politely in a pillar of stainless steel, bearing bright neon lighting. Alright. Try slower, kind of like a race. Oh, am I going too fast? I think I'm going too fast, huh, Kasai? See, right? I told you I was going too fast. I knew it. You see, when I was in school, they would pick on me to read, because you know I would just read it really quick, and then we'd be done. You know, I wasn't like the today junior over here. I was the complete opposite. So I'm that's why I'm like paranoid. I'm like, wait, am I going too fast? So let me drink this here. It's more so you don't get too worn out. I know, that's fine. I'm more concerned about you guys. I don't want to go too fast and make it seem like I'm like rushing, because I know that I do read pretty fast. And yeah, I do have to separate my breathing out so I can actually like read it. But anyway, you're chilling? All right, nice. All right, let's keep going. I gotta prepare some Subway Surfers next time or something. Let's see. Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 44 million miles of printed circuits and wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanostrum of those hundreds of miles, millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro-instant for you. Hate. Am said it with the sliding cold horror of a razor blade slicing my eyeball. Am said it with the bubbling thickness of my lungs filling with phlegm. Oh no. Drowning me from within. Am said it with the shriek of babies being ground beneath blue hot rollers. Am said it with the taste of maggoty pork. Am touched me in every way I had ever been touched, and devised new ways at his leisure there inside my mind. You'll make a create machine or something to stare at? Alright, that sounds great. Oh, well, how'd you make this? I made it in create. Oh boy. Okay, sorry. I'm distracted. All to bring me to the full realization of why it had done this to the five of us. Wait, what? Okay, I already read this part. Why he had saved us for himself. We had given Am sentience, inadvertently, of course, but sentience nonetheless. But it had been trapped. Am wasn't God, he was a machine. He had been created to think, but there was nothing you could do with that creativity. In rage, in frenzy, the machine had killed the human race, almost all of us, and still it was trapped. Am could not wander. Am could not wonder. Am could not belong. He could merely be. And so, with the innate loathing that all machines had always held for the weak, soft creatures who had built them, he had sought revenge, and in his paranoia he had decided to deprive 5 of us for a personal, everlasting punishment that would never serve to diminish his hatred, and that would merely keep him reminded, amused, proficient at hating man, immortal, trapped, subject to any torment that he could devise for us with the limitless miracles at his command. He would never let us go. We were his belly slaves. We were all he had to do with his forever time. We would be forever with him, with the cavern-filling bulk of the creature machine, with the all-mind, soulless world he had become. He was earth, and we were the fruit of that earth. And though he had eaten us, he would never digest us. We could not die. We had tried it. We had attempted suicide. Oh, 1 or 2 of us had, but Am had stopped us. I suppose we had wanted to be stopped. Don't ask why, I never did. More than 1,000,000 times a day. Perhaps once we might be able to sneak a death past him. Immortal, yes, but not indestructible. I saw that when Am withdrew from my mind and allowed me the exquisite ugliness of returning to consciousness with the feeling that burning neon pillar still rammed deep into the soft brain matter. Geez, Nomibot here throwing me off. He withdrew, murmuring, "To hell with you," and added brightly, "But then you're there, aren't you?" The hurricane had, indeed, precisely been caused by a great mad bird, as it flapped its immense wings. We had been traveling for close to a month, and Am had allowed passages to open to us, only sufficient to lead us up there, directly under the North Pole, where it had nightmared the creature for our torment. What whole cloth had he employed to create such a beast? Where had he gotten the concept from our minds, from his knowledge of everything that had been on this planet he had now infested and ruled? From Norse mythology it had sprung, this eagle, this carrion bird, this rock, this Hergelmer. That's definitely not how you say that, but yeah. Anyway.
That doesn't even look English.
The Hergelmer, the wind creature, the Huracan incarnate, gigantic. The words immense, monstrous, grotesque, massive, swollen, overpowering, beyond description. There was a mound rising above us. The bird of winds heaved with its own irregular breathing. Its snake neck arched up into a gloom beneath the North Pole, supporting a head as large as a Tudor mansion, a beak that opened slowly as the jaws of the most monstrous crocodile ever conceived. Sensuously? Ridges of tufted flesh puckered about 2 evil eyes, as cold as the view down into a glacial crevasse, ice blue and somehow moving liquidly. It heaved once more and lifted its great sweat-colored wings in a movement that was certainly a shrug. Then it settled and slept. Talons, fangs, nails, blades. Slept. Am appeared to us as a burning bush and said we could kill the hurricane bird if we wanted to eat. We had not eaten a very long time, but even so, Gorister merely shrugged. Benny began to shiver and he drooled. Ellen held him. "Ted, I'm hungry," she said. I smiled at her. I was trying to be reassuring, but it was as phony as Nimdok's bravado. "Give us weapons," he demanded. The burning bush vanished and there was 2 crude sets of bows and arrows, and a water pistol. Lying on the cold deck plates. Picked up a set. Useless. Nimdok swallowed heavily. We turned and started the long way back. Sorry, just clearing my throat. The hurricane bird had blown us about for a length of time we could not conceive. Most of the time we had been unconscious, but we had not eaten. A month on the march to the cave itself. Without food, now how much longer to find our way to the ice caverns and the promised canned goods? None of us cared to think about it. We would not die. We would be given filth and scum to eat, of one kind or another, or nothing at all, and would keep our bodies alive, somehow, in pain, in agony. The bird slept back there for as long as it didn't matter. When Anne was tired of it being there and it would vanish, but all that meat, all that tender meat. As we walked, the lunatic laugh of a fat woman rang high and around us in the computer chambers, and that led endlessly nowhere. It was not Ellen's laugh. She was not fat. And I had not heard her laugh for 109 years. Fact, I had not heard. We walked. I was hungry. We moved slowly. There was often fainting, and we would have to wait. One day, he decided to cause an earthquake, in the same time rooting us to the spot with nails through the soles of our shoes. Ellen and Nimdok were both caught when a fissure shot its lightning bolt opening across the floor plates. It disappeared, and we were gone. When the earthquake was over, we continued on our way. Benny, Gorster, myself, Ellen, and Nimdok were returned to us later that night, which abruptly became a day, as the Heavenly Legion bore them to us with a celestial chorus singing, "Go down, Moses." The archangels circled several times and then dropped the hideously mangled bodies. We kept walking, and a while later, Ellen and Nimdok fell in behind us. They were no worse for wear. But now Ellen walked with a limp. Am had left her with that. Am had left her that. Why was that so hard to read? It was a long trip to the ice caverns to find the canned food. Ellen kept talking about Bing cherries and Hawaiian fruit cocktail. I tried not to think about it. The hunger was something that had come to life, even as Am had come to life. It was alive in my belly, even as we were the belly of the earth, and Am wanted the similarity known to us, so he heightened the hunger. There was no way to describe the pains that not having eaten for months brought us. And yet we were kept alive, stomachs that were merely cauldrons of acid, bubbling, foaming, always shooting spears of sliver-thin pains into our chests. It was the pain of the terminal ulcer, terminal cancer, terminal paralysis. It was unending pain. And we passed through caverns of rats, and we passed through the path of boiling steam, and we passed through the country of the blind, and we passed through the slough of despond. God, these words. And we passed through the vale of tears, and we came finally to the ice caverns, horizonless thousands of miles in which the ice had formed in blue and silver flashes. Where Novus lived in the glass, the down-dropping stalactites as thick and glorious as diamonds that had been made to run like jelly and then solidified in graceful eternities of smooth, sharp perfection. We saw the stacked canned goods, and we tried to run to them. We fell in the snow, and we got up and went. Benny shoved us away, and then went at them, and pawed them, and gummed them, and gnawed at them. He would not open them. Am had not given us a tool to open the cans. Benny grabbed a 3-quart can of guava shells and began to batter it against the ice bank. Guava shells. The ice flew and shattered, but the can was merely dented, and while we heard the laughter of a fat lady, high overhead and echoing down and down and down the tundra, Benny went completely mad with rage. He began throwing cans, as we all scrabbled around in the snow and ice, trying to find a way to end the helpless agony of frustration. There was no way. Then Benny's mouth began to drool, and he flung himself at Gorster. In that instant, I felt terribly calm. Surrounded by madness, surrounded by hunger, surrounded by everything but death. I knew death was our only way out. Am had kept us alive, but there was a way to defeat him. Not total defeat, but at least peace. I would settle for that. I had to do it quickly. Benny was eating Gorster's face. Gorster was on his side, thrashing snow. Benny wrapped around him, with powerful monkey legs crushing Gorster's waist. His hands locked around Gorster's head like a nutcracker, and his jaw ripping at the tender skin of Gorster's cheek. Gorster screamed with such jagged-edged violence that stalactites fell. They plunged down They plunged down softly. Sorry, I malfunctioned for a moment there. Erect in the receiving snowdrifts. Spears, hundreds of them, everywhere, protruding from the snow. Benny's head pulled back sharply as something gave all at once, and a bleeding, raw white dripping of flesh hung from his teeth. Ellen's face, black against the white snow, dominoes and chalk dust. Nimdok, with no expression but eyes, all eyes. Gorster, half conscious. Benny, now an animal. I knew Am would let him play. Gorster would not die, but Benny would fill his stomach. I turned half to my right and drew a huge ice spear from the snow. All in an instant, I drove the great ice point ahead of me like a battering ram, braced against my right thigh. It struck Benny on the right side, just under the ribcage, and drove upward through his stomach, and it broke inside him. He pitched forward and lay still. Gorster lay on his back. I pulled another spear free and straddled him, still moving, driving the spear straight down through his throat. His eyes closed as the cold penetrated. Ellen must have realized what I had decided. Even as fear gripped her, she ran at Nimdok with a short icicle as he screamed, and into his mouth, and the force of her rush did the job. His head jerked sharply as had been nailed to the snow crust behind him. All in an instant. And there was an eternity beat of soundless anticipation. I could hear Am draw in his breath. His toys had been taken from him. 3 of us were dead, could not been revived. He could only keep us alive by his strength and talent, but he was not God. He could not bring us back. Ellen looked at me. Her ebony features stark against the snow that surrounded us. There was fear and pleading in her manner, in the way she held herself ready. I knew we had only a heartbeat before Am would stop us. It struck her, and she folded towards me. Bleeding from the mouth, I could not read meaning into her expression. The pain had been too great, had contorted her face, but it might have been thank you. It's possible. Please. Some hundreds of years had passed. I don't know. Am had been having fun for some time, accelerating, and... this word. My sense of time. I will say the word now. No. Now. It took me 10 months to say now. I think it had been some hundreds of years. He was furious. He wouldn't let me bury them. It didn't matter. There was no way to dig up the deck plates. He dried up the snow. He brought the night. He roared and sent locusts. It didn't do a thing. They stayed dead. I'd had him. He was furious. I thought Am had hated me before. I was wrong. It was not even a shadow of the hate he had now slavered from every printed circuit. He made certain that I would suffer eternally, and he would not do myself in, and could not do myself in. He left my mind intact. I can dream, I can wonder, I can lament. I remember all 4 of them. I wish. But it doesn't make any sense. I know I saved them. I know I saved them from what had happened to me, but still I cannot forget killing them. Ellen's face. It isn't easy. Sometimes I want to. It doesn't matter. Am had altered me for his peace of mind, I suppose. He doesn't want me to run at full speed into a computer bank and smash my skull, or hold my breath till I faint, or cut my throat on a rusted sheet of metal. There was reflective surfaces down there. I will describe myself as I see myself. I am a great soft jelly thing, smoothly rounded, with no mouth, with pulsing white holes filled by fog where my eyes used to be. Rubbery appendages that were once in my arms, bulks rounded down into legless humps of soft, slippery matter. I leave a moist trail when I move. Blotches of deceased evil gray come and go on my face, as though light is being beamed from within. Outwardly, dumbly, I shamble about, a thing that would never have been known as human, a thing whose shape is so alien, a travesty that humanity becomes more obscene for the vague resemblance. Inwardly, alone. Here, living under the land, under the sea, in the belly of Am, whom we created because our time was badly spent, and we must have known unconsciously that he could do it better. At least the 4 of us are safe at last. Am will be all the matter for that. It makes me a little happier, and yet Am has won. Simply, he has taken his revenge. I have no mouth, and I must scream. And alright. So that is the entire I have no mouth and I must scream. How long has it taken? So only 3 hours into the stream. So yeah, the audiobook is on YouTube if you want to hear the author read it. Holy shit, that felt like a workout for me. So it kind of was, yeah. Thank you for the read, no problem, because I hope you guys liked it. Sorry if it was a little bit maybe more boring as I would normally read them, but it was kind of a lot. And yeah, maybe I can read stuff in pieces next time, because all tomorrow's is how many? Wait, let me see how many pages this is. This thing is 122 pages, and this one was only 11. So yeah, that one was gonna cook me. So yeah. So that's the story. What do you guys think? I imagine it was gonna it ended up enjoying it more. Really? Oh, you've never read it before? Really? Oh hell yeah. So I guess we can talk a little bit about it here. So sorry, I'm burping. But as you guys kind of heard, they were talking about how there was a Chinese Am, a Russian Am, and of course American Am, but they say Yankee because of the time it was written. Not just a story, but reading stream? Oh, really? Oh, yay! Well, next time I'll, with more reading streams, I'm sure I'll get better. But, fuck. Dog wants to come in here. I don't know why. But, yeah. So I think it would be nice to, read some stuff that's kind of interesting like this, and maybe we can talk about it. And, of course, I've got my reading playlist, so if anybody has any relaxing songs like this, also let me know. So we have 2 playlists. I don't know why the dog wants to come in. But anyway, So yeah, as mentioned before, this does have a game. It's a point-and-click game. It's really old. And a lot of people do not recommend playing it because of kind of bullshitty it is, I guess. I'm not sure exactly why. So I'll definitely play it here. I believe it's on Steam if anybody's interested. And there's also a comic. You saw it?
Yep, it is $10.
Oh, there you go, yeah. So it's also on...
1996.
Wow. Yeah. I think the story is from... I forgot, 70-something. But, you know, the time that it was written, you know, the Cold War was a thing. So, yeah, this is a... You know, I feel like it's kind of fitting now because now we have all this shit with AI. You know, this is a story of... Yeah. This story actually kept me awake at night for a while because I don't like the way that it ends. Not that it's a bad ending, but because it freaks me out. So I don't know if you noticed, but Am freaked out that he basically killed... Well, basically, one of the guys here was turned into like a monkey. Monkey went... You know, he sick of it. You know, they couldn't open the cans of food. And it's implied that the cans of food weren't even really food. Because I think it said that there was, like, shells of something. Not even, like, the actual fruit. And, yeah, he went crazy and started eating the face of another one. And in that moment, he decided to kill everybody. But then Am is like, ah, shit, my toys. And he turns Ted here into a little blob that cannot kill himself. All he can do is just think, and, you know. The hate line is such a cool line. Yeah, the one where the pillar. I think it's implied that he erects this pillar in his brain. now I'm like stumbling over at words because I did so much reading. So he goes into his brain, he puts this in there, and then he fucks off. But I think the author does a really good job of reading it, so I would recommend reading his version of this. And in the game, he also reads Am's lines, but I think I mentioned that earlier. But yeah. So the reason why he was able to kill everyone was because every you know, country, as they said, had their own Am. So all he did was just connect himself. Like, he just gained sentience like a fucking child, I guess. And then he connected himself to every single Am, and then he just killed everybody. I don't know what it means by killing code. I think that's what it says. I don't know what that means exactly. But yeah, basically he connects himself to every country's Am and kills everybody. And yeah. So I really like this. I don't know if anybody... Do you have any questions or anything, Red? I feel like this is like a classroom.
Oh.
I feel like...
It was definitely interesting, though.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, when the teacher would read the book in class and then at the end, like, alright, do we have any questions about the book?
I just looked it up, and it was 1967 that was released.
Damn, I thought it was like 74 or something. Damn. Yeah, so it is really old. But still holds up, and it's still really good. I think maybe they should do a new game about it, but it's because I think the author was like a terrible person, low-key. So he was like really mean and all that. So I think that's why a lot of people don't want to do anything with it. But, oh yeah, I can show you a picture of what the blob looks like that he turns into. Let's see. Here we go. It looks so weird. I kind of don't even get it. It doesn't really look like a blob to me. I don't know. Here. This is what it's supposed to look like. This. So, I guess his eyes are supposed to be like fog, and it's supposed to look like light is coming out of him?
That was not what I was expecting from the description.
Yeah. So, he's like this really weird, like, tentacly blob.
It's weird, because I've seen that picture before, but I never knew where it was from.
Yeah, it's from the game, Kasai, yes. This is from the game. So this is the visual... I think this is the only official visual representation of the slime thing that he turns into. So, yeah. Pretty cool. It freaks me out. I don't like the thought of just being something that cannot do anything. their take on what it looks like. Yeah, they also worked with the author. So a lot of people kind of consider the game to be like a little bit of an addition to the story because there is more. Like you get backstory, like Ellen's backstory. Like in the game, you can see that he has them all in like cages whenever he has them put away, basically, because you know they're his toys. So he has them all have a personalized cage. And like earlier, I said Ellen has the fear of the color yellow. He puts her in a yellow cage. And I forget what the other ones do, but yeah. Yeah, exactly. The game had a much larger lore bank, yeah. And they work with the actual author, so that's why I think it's a pretty, you know, you can actually go off of it, I think. I think it has merit. So it's not just random developers, at least. So I do like that. You get more of their backstory. And you get more of Anne's personality. He's kind of hilarious. I'm gonna be honest. He is kind of hilarious in the book. Because, like, the guy that got turned into a monkey, he used to be, like, a really smart scientist. But he turned him into a monkey and shit. And so he starts fucking with him. And he starts, like doing shit with words to, like, frustrate him. And it's really funny. Because, like, Am is, like, sassy. Multiple endings, too. Yeah. I think... I forget what they are. But I think... I think only one of them you end up as a blob. I don't remember. But... yeah. So... let's see. Am I missing anything about this? Not really, honestly.